Right, the historical context, we did a workshop, we did a display right at the very first meeting, showing the various history of trade and industry in Brentford, showing various maps, how Brentford developed from a very early riverine culture right through to the industrial age and beyond up to the canal age, and then we went into the rail and intensive industry, how the character changed, but was always centred on the transport issue, which was always, of course, initially the river. We also saw how that the pattern of the town developed because of the link between the high street and the river. And we looked at various maps coming through from, well, I'm sorry, you're going to have to look at photographs first. These are put in by Andrew because it shows, top right hand, the entrance of the River Brent and the canal in the early 20th century and sort of mid down on the bottom left. It was very much, in the initial stages, a very natural system. I'm hoping, yes, we are getting onto maps. One of the earliest of the detailed maps of Brentford, 1635, this comes from the Zion estate, and you can see that running down through the middle you've got the High Street, running down the left you've got the River Brent, and you can still see on a semicircle over to the right hand corner, that's also the Brent. And you can see that along the High Street you have Boar's Head, you've got High Wharf, which is where we are, Wolf Wharf, there's another one off the picture there, Wheel Wharf, as where Catherine Wheel Road is, etc., etc. So you had a link between High Street and River. It becomes rather more detailed, and you can see in this Clitheroe map of the very start of the 19th century, when the canal was first built, the Thames Lock has only just been built, and the runoff from that knucklebone type island down the bottom right has not even been built yet. And here you can see the intensification of building that's arisen because of the greater industry and transport opportunities that building a canal through to the Midlands had made. And if it had been coloured there, you would see the very much older patterns of passages between the High Street and the river. This is what, in 1939, the powers that be decided was going to be a big improvement. This was the road widening scheme that resulted in the initial complete devastation of the High Street, even before they started, because this was what they proposed. Nothing happened for 15 years or so, until after the war, but in the meantime the blight, because of expected redevelopment that never came, was evident and resulted in a lot of the problems that Brentford has faced commercially and visually. And when we finally had this come to fruition in the early 50s, the result was made even worse. That's a personal opinion. But this is the map that shows in a sort of translucent green the street pattern that existed from the very earliest 18th century. And it is surprising how, when you superimpose it on a modern map, they still, in form, exist. And through all the various types of development of Brentford for centuries, these patterns have remained. We had a look at the buildings of any interest that remained. I'm not going to go through them. I know there isn't that many, but I'm mindful of how long everybody else's 5 minutes has been. So, having put this sort of information out to everybody and putting stuff out on the local forum and distributing leaflets and questionnaires, from all the feedback that came back to, probably Eileen doing all the sorting out, we have about 5 main historical context recommendations. One was to retain and reinstate the historic place names. Names have a resonance all of their own, and they are meaningful. There was the suggestion that we do not retain Brent Way. Brent Way, as it exists, is an anomaly in historical terms. It was a bright idea of the Middlesex County Council just post-war, and was actually a complete abortion. But again, sorry, that's my personal opinion. But it has come out as part of the feedback. Establish a High Street conservation area. This is something that English Heritage have been pushing for the last 7 years. Sadly, as yet, it has not been done. There is a fear that establishing a high street conservation area would inhibit development, and it is not always generally understood that having a conservation area doesn't mean to say you can't bulldoze all the things that richly deserve being bulldozed.